Okay, issue 4.
Chuck Todd, host of NBC's Meet the Press, came under fire this week after airing a misleading edit of a CBS News interview with Attorney General William Barr. The edit suggested that Barr had charges dropped against Michael Flynn for political reasons. Had Todd played the full context of the clip, it would have shown Barr defending his decision based on the rule of law. Todd later apologized. But in another media fumble, late-night TV host Jimmy Kimmel misrepresented a video of Vice President Mike Pence delivering medical supplies. Kimmel also apologized, but not until his tweet had received more than 100,000 retweets and 260,000 likes.
Ryan, one of the things that seems quite striking here is the media's obsession with itself seems to grow and grow. And one thing I found striking this week is, yes, the optics looked very bad with President Trump's pushback to that reporter in the Rose Garden in terms of Ask China. But actually, it's something Trump has been saying, at least for the last couple of weeks. And I think perhaps a lot of Americans would suggest it's a stretch, as many in the media jump to do, to say that that was inherently racist.
Well, I mean, if I could criticize one major thing that Trump has done immensely wrong is doing these 2-hour-long press conferences, allowing the media to ask any question that they could think up in their head. They are a hostile press. I mean, probably the most hostile since the Nixon administration, which Pat could probably attest to more than I can, considering I wasn't born. They are asking questions of, do you deserve to be reelected since there's all these people dying during your administration? A question they would have never asked LBJ during the Vietnam War. And I think that he cannot give them the airtime, and also he cannot be as thin-skinned as he is. He is the president of the United States. These people are nothing compared to the status he has, and I think that spending so much time on the media and so much time on these reporters, giving them airtime so they can get a new book deal, is very problematic when you have most Americans concerned about their health and the economy, and that's really the only thing that should be coming out of his mouth for the next couple of weeks.
And of course, Clarence, the suggestion could be made that actually having a hostile press in a democracy, especially with a president such as this one, is important because it holds politicians to account.
Every president complains of a hostile press when they ask questions that the president doesn't want to hear. And what President Trump calls fake news, meaning questions he doesn't want to answer. And by the way, Ryan, I was around during the Vietnam era, both inside the military and outside, and say the president didn't get hostile, whatever that is, questions. He's just getting the kind of questions the average American is asking. Donald Trump's getting the questions now that the average American is asking, who is not a head-to-toe Trump follower. And these are questions that it is the reporter's job to ask. I almost said we, because I'm a commentator, I'm not a reporter. I was a reporter. And reporters' jobs is to ask the questions that the public wants to get the answers to, because the president's supposed to be accountable. And so I don't make any excuse for that. And I think the reporters are just doing their job. And every president complains about it. President Obama complained about the press every so often. Believe it or not, it wasn't always a love fest. And we're going to hear more of it in the future.
But Clarence, can I just say one thing to follow up? Clarence,
please.
Yes, you should absolutely have a hostile press that asks you questions. What does it help the information the American public needs to know about any issue when you have reporters like the one from CNN who read off the poem from the Statue of Liberty during a discussion on immigration? Let's face it, a lot of these reporters are looking to make moments for themselves, to become cable hosts, to get financially successful book contracts, to go on late night television. There is an incentive, a financial incentive for reporters to make the story about themselves, not about the news.
Congratulations.
I missed that one, Ryan. I want to know what purpose it served for the president to hear a reporter ask him the other day about the testing, which he was bragging about. We lead the world in testing, which is flat out falsehood. And he said, "No, you're nasty." That's a nasty question.
All right, let's go to Eleanor.
I want to go back to that exchange with the woman from CBS as well. It's not the president's first exchange with her. I think a year ago, she asked a question and he said, who were you with? Because he was suspecting she was representing a Chinese outlet because she is of Chinese descent. So, and the way he snapped at her, who are you representing? And when he asked her, you should ask the question of China, and she said, why are you addressing me specifically with that? I mean, the racist intent was there. And part of the president's reelection strategy is basically to create this animosity against China for inflicting this upon us. So I don't excuse him for that at all. And to go back to the clip from NBC and William Barr, I mean, the quote that was memorable that Barr said was, "The winners write history. His history is written by the winners." And then he followed with, yes, he thought that General Flynn, that it was all part of the rule of law, and he defended that. So yeah, they shouldn't have doctored it, but it's not like they went for the quote that people are going to remember when he said, the winners write history, and that's true. And Trump is trying to rewrite the history of the Russian investigation.
Yeah, but the follow-up question was, sorry, go ahead.
Somehow all the errors come at the expense of Trump. The truth is, now I went through Richard Nixon's White House. I was with him for, 9 years, even before he was president. He never got the kind of impertinence and insulting and hostility and hatred and detestation you see on the part of this press corps. Ryan is exactly right. A lot of them are making their bones, if you will. They're making their reps by showing how hateful they can be to the President of the United States. Quite frankly, the real opposition to Donald Trump isn't Steny Hoyer. It is not Chuck Schumer. The real hostility in this campaign he's fighting against is the press corps, the collectivity there. And their behavior is responsible for the fact that never before has the American press enjoyed less respect and less dignity on the part of the American people.
I don't know what polls you're reciting. And,
Pew Research.
I think Trump is having difficulties. Well, he loves his exchanges with the press. Jonathan Karl's new book, he recites how he beats up on him in public, and then is all buddy behind the scenes. And with Leslie Stahl, he said the reason I do it is that so the people will believe you when I keep calling you fake news. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's loving it. And in many ways, the press has been too complicit with him. And always, every time he throws a new shiny object out there, we go racing after it. He's a master of distraction.
Okay, there's two. One, the Pew Research poll found that the only institution that has lost credibility in the last 2 years is the media. Secondly, it was long before Donald Trump that the media had been losing credibility. Media credibility dropped in half. This is according to Gallup from 1976 to 2015, from a 76% approval rating to a 36% approval rating. The amount of people in the press, and that's a global thing as well. You see the same thing in the press in the UK, all over Europe, in Canada. This is a problem of the media as an institution, and the believability of the media as an institution. It deals with clickbait news. It deals with people giving one-line sentences during cable news talking points, and it deals with reporters who want to be commentators and want to sit there and be able to get financial access through book deals and commercials and television shows and whatnot. I mean, that is really what's driving this distaste in the media and distrust for the institution at large. It's not just Donald Trump. If it was, it will go back the minute he left office, but I doubt it will.
Clarence,
time for a rebuttal, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a one thing, Ryan. Go out and ask people on the street, what do you think the media are? And media is a plural word. It's not a singular word, although people misuse it all the time. When I talk to people, they say, the media, you can't trust them. And I say, well, what media do you read or watch? Well, all of a sudden they have to stop for a moment and I say, well, I watch so-and-so, whether it's Fox or MSNBC or whatever else. So everybody, it's like the media are like Congress. Everybody hates Congress, but everybody likes their own congressman or some congressperson that they like. And that's what the free press offers you, is a wide potpourri. And believe me, I spent too many midnight, midnight beat stories and waiting for news to happen to believe that this is a cushy life that these reporters live. I mean the reporters, not the $1 million anchors or
right.
Whatever.
No, and I don't disagree with you at all, Clarence. I'm not saying that reporters have the most glamorous job in the world. Many, if you're a city desk journalist and you're a beat reporter, you barely get by for a lot of them, and you do for the passion of the cause. However, the media has changed landscapes tremendously. Most media outlets live in super blue districts. They are overwhelmingly white. They are overwhelmingly liberal. They don't go to church. They don't own guns. They don't drive pickup trucks. They don't go to NASCAR. They don't listen to country music. They are completely disassociated from the country at large. And the country that the the place that the rest of the country lives in and the place that the media lives in are two worlds apart. And that is the problem. You see it in their reporting, you see it in their questioning, and you see it in their lack of ability to reach regular Americans.
Is there a challenge here? One of the things I think is that as much as there is, as Clarence says, this great passion in the United States for delivering the truth on stories, investigative journalism, etc., there is also this trend that we've seen in terms of some of the pageantry of politics, almost Shakespearean sometimes at the White House, on both sides, of course, where reporters seem to cross the line into shows like this, which we do this as volunteers, we love it, but that reporters who have the principle of being objective, or the expectation, tend to dance on the line more now, and that seeing that, people become
Let me talk to that. I'll use an example. An old friend of mine, he's gone now. I went to his funeral at the National Cathedral, Don Irwin, Los Angeles Times. He was so objective, so neutral in his reporting. He listened to everything Nixon said in these speeches. We said, why are you covering the basic fundamental speech? He said, I want to see if there's a change in emphasis before this audience. The idea of objectivity, neutrality, reporters, not being able to understand a reporter's political views, all this, it was ingrained in me in journalism school when the New York Times was the ideal. That is gone. The reporters and journalists you see now who are most known, who are they? They're the people on television that are attacking Trump and doing the most outrageous things and confronting him. The profession has really taken a horrible beating here, and I don't think it's ever going to cover it as a collective.
Well, that was a very good discussion from a lot of experienced journalists who are at the top of their game, myself excluded, of course. But they, I think, have given us some things to think about there.